Rahman Rahim. I am happy that I have one more time opportunity to read the brothers and sisters of Ahlul Bayt Islamic Society of the New England and ZEC MIT Shia Muslim Association. As Dr. Musallai said, this is the 11th lecture of the lecture series titled Maryam in the Maryam Salam Alayha in the Quran. But this lecture, we have the occasion of the birth of Imam Mahdi alayhi salam, which today's 10th of Shaban, 5 days from now, Friday, will be the 15th of Shaban, the birthday of Imam Mahdi alayhi salam. So for that occasion, I want to have a topic which I intended to do it be somewhat related. So we'll continue a little bit the discussion we have about James, brother of Jesus, to finish it. I will discuss some discussion about the other brothers, Simon or Shamoun or Simeon, sometimes they write it, which the claim is, according to Shia Hadith, that mother of Imam Mahdi alayhi salam, mother of Imam Mahdi alayhi salam, the mother is Malika Nargis Khatoon. Her mother is descendant of this Simon. I will discuss it, how the hadiths have mentioned and how many people understood it. We have alluded to it. So that's the topic will be. But because of time, and I think this topic, the paper I'm discussing, others in English, but I don't think anybody of the authors have explained in English. To save time, essentially our talk has 3 parts. The middle part, I will maybe a little bit shorten it and come back to it next lecture, which again is after 15 of Shaban, and also maybe some part of this story I will complete. Sorry. So I'm going to the occasion start with this verse, and then our verses we usually recite. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ولقد كتبنا في الزبور من بعد الذكر أن الأرض يرثها عبادي الصالحون. Certainly we wrote in the Psalms after the Torah, indeed my righteous servants shall inherit the earth. Although the translator has taken Zek to mean Torah, but maybe the better translation was reminder, but that's another story. And then the verses we usually start this series with. وضرب الله مثلا للذين آمنوا امرأة فرعون إذ قالت رب ابن لي إنك بيتا في الجنة ونجني من فرعون وعمله ونجني من القوم الظالمين ومريم ابنة عمران التي أحسنت فرجها ونفخنا فيها من روحنا وصدقت بكلمات ربها وكتبه وكانت من القانتين. God cites an example for the faithful, the wife of Pharaoh, when she said, "My Lord, build me a home near you in paradise and deliver me from the Pharaoh and his conduct, and deliver me from the wrongdoing lot." And Mary, daughter of Imran, who guarded the chastity of her womb, so we breathed into it of our spirit. She confirmed the words of the Lord and his books, and she was one of the obedient. I want to emphasize kind of the idea, the main idea is that the mother of Imam Mahdi is a descendant of Mary. That's what maybe the idea is. Through Jesus doesn't have a son, not through James, but through another of the brothers. And then this, we have to look to it, but then we have a topic specific to this, not necessarily the connection. So that I want you to have in mind. That's the main idea. Is the previous lectures we saw the Annunciation, the angel telling Mary that she's going to conceive and have a child. We saw discussion the birth of Jesus. We discussed the event after or surrounding the birth of Jesus. And then, as usual, these are the verses, although we're not discussing them this lecture exceptionally, these are the verses which related to Hazrat Maryam in the Quran in the chronological order. So these are the verses we have covered. We have covered to here, and then these verses we should discuss. The main part will be here, maybe the last 2 lectures, maybe the last 2 and 2.5 lectures we devote to these verses, but for now this lecture and next lecture is this topic. As I said, look, the main points, the new points, the one problems we want to address and emphasize in these series of lecture what is Family Imran, from whom it consists of. Is it just Jesus, Mary, her mother, and his mother, Imran and his wife, and their daughter Mary, and uh, Jesus, the son of Mary, or Mary maybe have other children, and then those can be considered from Family of Imran, then called Family of Jesus, and those children may have children. That I will maybe discuss more next lecture. That the children have children, and what was the situation. We discussed the issue of sister of Aaron, which I think which goes mostly, So if you look differentiate Mary, the first question is about the descendant Mary. The second question was the ancestor of Mary, effectively. And then this faith of true Christianity is related to what happened after Jesus, and who was the leader of the church. We said in last lecture was James. And then the idea is that after James, a Simon. There is no dispute that after James, a Simeon or Simon, which have some relationship to Jesus, get to the leadership. So another Vasi, another leader, another Imam, you can call it, for the Christian church, true church, was a relative of Jesus. But the question, as we saw before, whether it is the half-brother, step-brother, or cousin, this is the question. We discussed Joseph the Carpenter, because that is important, again, to have Mary have other children besides Jesus. And then this is the question, this lecture we want to emphasize. Who was the ancestor of the mother of the 12th Imam Mahdi? Usually it's called Nargis, but there is another name, Malika, I have to discuss here. Khatoon is the title which is added to it, but it's a Turkish word. It's added with the respect, like Hazrat and so on. Malika, Nargis, and we have other names. Now, very interestingly, even maybe I should have checked it myself sooner. Look, Muslims know about Islamic culture, generally knew one Simon. And that Simon, which is, and then also many of us know it too, and I will, when you see the movies or reading the Christian text, is the Simon the Cephas. Cephas, Cephas, the Greek word for, or I have to say, is Greek pronunciation of the Aramaic word Safa. It means rock, or Simon the Peter. So among the Simon is stand for Shamun, and some called Simeon. We have Shamun in for example, Lebanese Christians use the name Shamun. There was a president in Lebanon called Shamun or something like that. Simon is just coming here too. So the point is this: this Simon, which is famous, and Christians know, Muslims and Jews heard about, is Simon the Peter, Simon the Rock. And the belief is that he's among the biggest companions of Jesus. Maybe I have to discuss this a little more next lecture. Is one of the most important as disciples of Arian of Jesus. And then there is a phrase ascribed to Jesus that the nickname rock has came from the Jesus that it says, "You are the rock, I will build my church on you." So some people believe he is the successor of Jesus, but this has many contradictions even inside Bible, not inside New Testament. It has many contradictions, but still, he was a punishment. But still, even for example, popes or the Catholic Church believed that the first patriarch, no, they call it bishop. Yeah, the Latin word. The bishop of Rome was Simon. Peter is the Simon. Peter the Cephas. Simon the Cephas. And then all popes are his successors. So they make the chain like this. All these popes are technically bishop of Jerusalem. But then there used to be 5 cities important in the Christian church, and now it's reduced. Rome has got much upper hand. It wasn't like that. It was Jerusalem itself. It was Antioch. It was Alexandria. It was Rome, and one other city. I have it in mind, but So there were 5 cities which were important as the important churches, and then gradually Rome get the upper hand. Yeah, I think Byzantine. Yeah, no, yeah, the Byzantine Church. Yeah, Constantinople. So that's a 5. And then so in that sense, they take their lineage, the popes to this Simon. And I think many Muslims also, or Shias, will read the hadith, which we'll see to it. They don't know any other Simon. Most people don't know Jesus' brothers, or one of them called Shamun. They take the lineage to this Simon, which is, okay, they understand, maybe okay, but there are some problems with it, which I will discuss. But then we have the brother of Jesus, and then okay, so the brother of Jesus has a name which is Simon, nickname Simon of Clophas or the Clophas. A little bit is confusion. And then is it like Simon the son of Clophas, or Simon Clophas is its title, because Clophas also, it seems, have cognitive roots with Khalifa, successor. So you have to see, sometimes people take it as name, but maybe it's not name. So all these are there. So we have another Simon, which is called brother of Jesus, explicit in New Testament. And so the question is that whether the mother on Mahdi, I will show you the hadith, is descendant of this Simon or that Simon. Okay, to Shia hadiths, which I may show you next time, there are references to Simon, Cephas, Shamun, and Safa. But the point is that, which I had to check, I mean, I saw it just today, I noticed it. To be honest, that in that hadith, which is our main hadith, and the main point is that the Simon is not referred, Shamun, as Shamun at Safa, or Shamun. Actually, is referred Shamun as the Wasi, the successor, the executor. And my claim this lecture and next lecture will be this Simon couldn't be, wasn't, especially if you look at the lecture, any time successor of Jesus. The real successor was James. The leader of Shirk was James. He was serving under James, and he passed away a few years after James. And after James passed away, Simon the Clophas, all the church historians agree, he took the leadership of the church. But you know, the whole issue of brother is brother, stepbrother, half brother, or cousin is the issue. Look, not this Simon the Cephas, and there are other parts which maybe I put it for the next lecture. So, and I think this is important. One important, maybe people don't come all lecture or see all lectures. Look, nobody kept track of the lineage of Simon the Cephas. But Simon the Clophas, which is a brother of Jesus, we have evidence. People keep track of their lineage because they were brother of Jesus. The family of the Lord, they call it Especioni, which I will discuss next lecture. I think they kept the track of him, and because he was also lineage of David. So we discuss all those lectures, the royal lineage, and also lineage of Aaron, priestly lineage. So we can see that what we say, effectively, Imam Mahdi, through the mother of her mother, is descendant of Hazrat Maryam, and in that sense, which the lineage come to here, descendant of Aaron and descendant of David. Okay, so this is the main idea, but then we go, maybe part of it I explain now, and part of it next lecture. Now we have some stuff about James because it's important for true Christianity and what we say. I know already I get some time. I would try to start the main topics sooner because before you got tired, and then maybe I switch the order, second topic, put it for next lecture or then. So we saw, I'm not going too much in the New Testament. We have two parts in Mark 6:3 and Matthew 13:55. There is the reference to the brothers of Jesus. The word even used, Adelphoi, we see it in another slide. It literally means Greek coming from the same womb. So it's not, the word, I mean, you may say the words are used to change meaning, but the word really emphasizes these are I mean, the way in Baradar in Farsi, I don't know what's exactly breakdown of roots, but the word in Greek, exactly, I will show it to you later, emphasize these two are coming out of the same womb, are coming the same womb. So maybe they literally are stepbrothers. But anyway, their four names were James, Joseph, Judah, Simon, which that Simon is of our interest for we were referring to, but for now we're focusing on James. We said James have given some interesting names or titles. He was the beloved disciple of Jesus, although this is not 100% clear, but it is, in the sense, if you have to argue the, in the sense, in the Gospel of John, they have hidden this, the same we have in some Sunni hadiths. But because exactly they kept it vague, and we go to other texts looking for it, Professor Tabor argued, this beloved disciple is James. Like I said, he was the beloved companion among Prophet Muhammad. The designated successor of Jesus. We know from history this happened, as a matter of fact. He was the leader of church, both from, we have it from both Book of Acts in New Testament and other church history, Eusebius, but James was the leader of the church. That part I'm going to emphasize now a little bit more. But we saw in the Gospel of Thomas, again, I will show it to you, that there is a sentence clearly ascribed to Jesus. He is the one my designated successor. So there is a mass for him. And then, actually, matter of fact, he was the leader of the church. And then, as I said, James and other members of the family of Jesus, apostle, disciple, church in Jerusalem, represented through Christianity, the religion of Jesus, in contrast to Paulinity, religion about Jesus. You know, we said there is a kind of rivalry and contrast which happened in the Caliphate and the Imamate, and especially, as said, the sentence ascribed to the second Caliph, that Arab or Quraysh will not tolerate the prophethood and leadership being one family, so they disposed this. Bani Hashem sidelined them and didn't give commandership. So that's the theory of second caliph. We see the same tension here. The word that is a caliphate imamate thing is not the word I use. Actually, again, Professor Tabor and Klaus von Stosch use it. So you see that same tension is there. And then because New Testament is mostly written by the cycle or the people near Paul, you see that some stages are the family of Jesus are very downplayed, negative image in Mark, even Mary is sidelined. And then, okay, this collection of books are collected later on, things a little bit changed regarding Mary, but still, that's another story, but still you see the tension is there. Now, I have to summarize some of James because it's important, and then I try, then we go to the second topic, or maybe the main topic sooner. His review last lecture and some additional stuff, his personality, life, leadership of the church, these are distinguishing feature and confrontation with Paul, martyrdom in the hand of temple authority, chief Jewish rabbi, we saw it all last lecture. It's a fascinating story. We look at the Epistle of James, which in the New Testament canon, we saw its parallelism or with the Qur'an and Islamic beliefs. As I said, it's a very short book, or letter actually, essentially epistle. But we saw for example, out of 27 books of New Testament, 13 from Paul, you don't see any explicit reference to teaching of Jesus. No reference to Mary. It's just called Mary. No reference to the teaching of Jesus. For example, Jesus thought, said so and so. And then if people have counted, if we get 300 teaching of Jesus reflected in New Testament, in a book short, so not more than 6 pages like Epistle of James, you have 30 of them listed. And many of them cut or similarity to Islamic teachings. As I said, for example, it really stressed you shouldn't say I would do something tomorrow. You should say always, if God willing, inshallah. Prohibition of swearing. So I listed them, and we had it last lecture. You can see the summary of last lecture. So this Epistle of James reflect much more the teaching of Jesus than the whole 13 letters of Paul, which is about 40-45% of New Testament. Other writing ascribed to James for the same circle was Proto-Gospel of James. You see the whole series of lectures. This is so important. Although we know it was edited, but the information regarding the family of Jesus, Mary, childhood of Jesus, childhood of Mary, parents of Mary, all comes from the circle which is somehow associated with James. As I said, other writings such as Book of James, Fourth Gospel of James, associated to James or belong to the movement which consider James as the leader and the successor of Jesus. And I said last lecture, there is a group that in early Christianity was known, established, Ebionites. They call themselves humbles, the poor, down to earth. Mostly humbles is true. They stick to Jewish law, Jewish Sharia, but believe in Jesus the prophet. They don't believe in the divinity of James. They don't believe in Paul. They have very respect for James. Some people have called it Jewish Christian movement. This name, some people are sensitive with it. But Jewish Christian movement, which after the martyrdom of James in 666 AD, actually James, okay, there is a timing difference. Maybe James martyred in 62, maybe 66. There is a difference. Last lecture I usually use 62. But the point is that around 62, after 60, he's martyred. We have a rebellion 66 by Jews, which against Roman Empire, a big rebellion, initial success. But Rome find time to defeat them and destroy the old temple. The temple is destroyed from 7 AD till now. That's the temple they want to rebuild. Following the teaching of Jesus, an example of James. As I said, I cannot go to Ebionites. This could be another lecture, but these are important. What Ebionite picture of Jesus they have, it wasn't divine, so this is true Christianity more. Ebionite opposition to Paul. Ebionite understanding of the law. They follow the law of the Jewish law. Ebionite role in history, place history. And then, as we said, Ebionite revere James, brother of Jesus, a leader of the Jerusalem church, as the true successor of Jesus, rather than Peter, because this will be important. Who's the Vasi or successor or vicegerent, an exemplar of righteousness? So Ebionites, that branch of Christianity, they existed to 2nd century, 3rd century, then they disappeared. Maybe they existed some for the time of Islam, but most probably they absorbed into Islam. Now, a little bit also we have to say what this, maybe this, should have or was better discussed last lecture, but I say it again. Look, these books are edited. You have to see who is writing it, with perspective is writing these books. These are never neutral. You can see the sign of edition. The Book of Acts, as I said, written by Luke, although it is okay, it is the only 2 books the author of it is known, or at least mentions, I am the author of this book. My name is so and so. I'm writing this for you. But still, this has a perspective, and perspective is a Gentile perspective and somewhat close to Paul. So we have it is a source, we used it. And despite, it's like Shia uses Sunni sources to explain the events like early Islam after Safifa, attacking to the house of Hazrat Fatima. We used it, and we used it even there. It can clearly see some tension, some rivalry. But just to remind you, the Book of Acts is largely responsible for the standard portraits of early Christianity, in which Peter and Paul assume such a dominant role, and James is largely left out. So the family of James left out, and they're raising up Peter to somehow compensate. But you see, even it's not like that. And Peter is also not needed. The goal is to be Paul, but you need a transition period, because Paul was not Christian, first persecuted Christian, and then become Christian, was low ranking, and then gradually you have to say Peter. But you see, even in the New Testament, in the Book of Acts, there is a tension between Peter and Paul. Peter is working with James, for James, and is under command of James, that Simon Peter, which I was discussing about, and has differences of opinion. But this is the way now Christians think. You go to the Rome Vatican, there's a giant statue of these 2 over there. It's effectively, it's like the issue we have those, for example, 2 Sahaba. But the difference here is that Peter is not. Look, I have to say later whether Peter is there or is a made-up image, because that is a possibility. There are contradictions. If you want to go detail, maybe I'll do it next lecture. What this Peter in New Testament is it real or is it contradictory image? Actually, some people say, actually, the real Peter is a mixture of the Simon, the brother of Jesus, which was the true successor and through the one church responsibility was on his shoulders, and the very difficult, challenging times after the destruction of the temple in 7th AD, and then later on the Pauline group get some of the features of that and put it on another Shamun and make this character. Because in no sense, Peter, Simon the Peter, the disciple, could be the rock church is built on it. But anyway, that's maybe I put it next lecture. The presentation of Acts has been the story, even though Luke's version is powerfully one-sided and historically questionable. This is not my sentences. I think mostly Tabor's. Luke surely knew, but was not willing to state that James took over the leadership of the movement after Jesus' death. And in his early chapters, he never even mentioned James by name and cast Peter as undisputed leadership of James' followers. But you see, it is not, because when you have to mention James, you can clearly see who's the authority, who's the leader, who has Paul to have to talk to. But his major agenda in the book as a whole is to promote the centrality of the mission and message of the Apostle Paul. Yeah, if the Gospel of Luke is about Jesus, book of Acts, although apparently it's about apostles, but essentially it's Paul. Preparing everything, Paul come to this scene and then be established, and after that is Paul. Essentially it's Acts of Paul. All the Acts is 24 chapters when Paul is introduced in chapter 9. The rest of Luke account is wholly about Paul. Even Peter begins to drop out of the picture. And in the Acts of the Apostle, the book might be named The Mission and Career of Paul. Ironically, Luke editorial after ironically, Luke has unwittingly left clues in the book of Acts that allows us to verify what we know from other sources, that James, not Peter, become the legitimate successor of Jesus and leader of the movement. This issue we have in Islam too, Imam Ali, so on, Imam, okay? And then, so we have to learn to read the book of Acts carefully. Actually, what helps is the letter of Paul, because the letter of Paul was written sooner when things were going on, so it's not very circumspect, it's not theologically editing it. James is after the fact, so the separation split has happened, rivalries, differences. So then you re-narrate the history the way what wasn't, but the way you prefer it be it was, so that you see letter of Paul sometimes betrayed, and sometimes vice versa. We saw them on last lecture. We have to learn to read the book of Acts carefully, aware of all times of scarcely veiled spin that Luke put on the story. Luke more than any of the other gospel marginalized the family of Jesus. Remember, Luke is descendants of Luke is representing Gentiles. Although this part I'm not sure who the most marginalized family of Jesus, but you see. So if the competition who has done it more, you see kind of all three more or less are doing it, or all four. Now, we went to the Gospel of Thomas. I mentioned he studied, so not going too much in it. As I said, this was discovered in Upper Egypt, 1945. I said outside the village of Nag Hammadi. This is different than Dead Sea Scrolls. Dead Sea Scrolls mostly Old Testament stuff before Christianity. This is after Christianity. Although the text dates itself to 3rd century, scholars have shown that it preserves, despite later theological embellishments, an original Aramaic document that comes to us from early days of Jerusalem Church. It provides a rare glimpse into what scholars have called Jewish Christianity, that is the earliest follower of Jesus led by James. The Gospel of Thomas is not a narrative of life of Jesus, but rather a list of 114 of his sayings or teachings. As I said, it's not like the other Gospels that telling Jesus do that, Jesus do that. It is saying of Jesus, only saying of Jesus. And it shows there must be such a Gospel, because we have no examples of it. It is only 100, like Hadith, and without any up and down or anything. And interesting, 114. And the 12th one was the one which is very interesting. The disciples said to Jesus, this is the 12th one, very interesting. The disciples said to Jesus, we know you will love us, who is going to be our leader then? Jesus said to them, no matter where you go, you are to go to the James, the just, for whose sake heaven and earth came into being. So, it says, after you, to whom we return, to whom we go, be leader, who we follow, and then he says, no matter where you go, where you are living, but you have to consult or seek opinion of James, which for whose sake heaven and earth has coming to being. We discussed last lecture that Jesus also, besides James, he said this is so much compliment, so lofty thing. He had something similar for Yahya, John the Baptist, that he said John the Baptist more than the prophet, greatest among those born of woman of his generation. That we said last lecture. But this, for the James, this phrase, for whose sake heaven and earth have came into being, has some similarity to Shia tradition, to that, although the hadith is, mystical or Irfani. First, God said to Prophet, if you were not there, I wouldn't create the heaven and earth. And then some people extended the same, some Shia sources to Imam Ali, Hazrat Fatima. And then, some people do not agree with that extension, even the first part. But here actually was an explanation, which I think, we did it last time. We said, look, these are the champions of human beings. These are the ones God boasts about them to the angels when they said, why are you creating human beings which will do corruption and spill blood? God kind of said, I know something you don't know, in Surah Al-Baqarah. And one of the things he knew, it was these kind of people who reach this kind of level of spirituality, submission to the will of God, selflessness. Like Imam Hussein, Talak Salam's example, as one of the examples, and the other beings. So these are like everything. When you're opening a football club or going to university, your goal is to produce scientists which are do the best thing. You want everybody of your students to be like that. Not always everybody will be, but the goal is that. So in that sense, we can understand this sentence what it is. But Tabor has an explanation of about this. So let's see his explanation about the whole phrase. So the whole phrase, look, there are two parts of it. No matter where you go, you are to go to James, the just, for whose sake heaven and earth came into being. The first part is that the phrase, no matter where you go, implies that the authority and leadership of James is not restricted to Jerusalem church or even to Roman Palestine. This is important. Last lecture I didn't emphasize it. So look, no matter you go, it's everywhere. It's not that okay, James was leader of church in Jerusalem. Me and Paul, I'm leader of church of Antioch or I don't know, other places, Rome or so on. No, everywhere you are as a Christian, the leadership is related to the James everywhere you go. According to this text, James, the brother of Jesus, had been put in charge over all of Jesus' followers. And the phrase for whose sake heaven and earth came into being reflects the Jewish notion, which is good. This helps us to understand something of ourselves, maybe too. A Jewish notion that the world exists and is sustained because of the extraordinary virtues of a handful of righteous or just individuals. This is also related to Wilaya, Shi, Imama, the function of Imams, okay. And then, for example, they go to an apocryphal book, example 2, Baruch 15. Some of these are mystical texts, understanding them is a little bit challenging, but we don't have time to go through this, but this sentence, and with regard to the righteous ones, those whom you said the word has come under account, yes, also that which is coming is under account. So everything come to existence before, that is because of them. And because of them, everything will be sustained or come to existence. A kind of the Mulasata philosophy, God is in creation every instant. The world is sustained by God. It's not that it's created one and can live by itself. At every instant must be kept into existence by the will of God. And then this is the reason or motivation. For this world is to them a struggle and effort with much trouble, but at that accordingly which will come a crown with a great splendor. These are how they explain it. Or another one explanation is that Clement of Alexandria, who wrote in the 2nd century AD, is another early source. Okay, so this is the explanation of this part. This heaven and earth come into being. This is mystical, but it shows at least how high position James has. And for she is not hard to accept, because many hadiths we have that at least the traditional ones which give a high function to imams in the whole management of the world. So going forward, but regarding, because I'm mostly focusing the historical dimension of James be the successor, this is crucial. Because if James is successor, the next successor most probably come from that circle, not from Peter, which was Rome and killed, martyred, or whatever. So Clement of Alexandria, who wrote in the late 2nd century AD, is another early source who confirms the succession of James. At one point, he wrote, Peter and James and John, after the accession of the Savior, did not struggle for glory, but still, this is the group that later on more associated with Paul and Peter, because they had previously been given honor by the Savior, but chose James the just as observer of Jerusalem, overseer of Jerusalem. I mean, at least they accept, because this is the Pauline church still. Especially Eusebius is 300 years later, and they are under the Pauline church, but they accept, as books of Acts said, that the leadership, they all accepted to James be the leader. I mean, one other thing is that the list of companions, maybe we can see it next time. The list, also Tabor says, the list of companions is vague and contradictory in these Gospels. 7 and 8 of them, maybe you can agree. Always 3 or 4 are vague, ambiguous, contradictory. And I think that was to make the family of Jesus, the brothers, be pushed away from the list of companions, the list of disciples, out of the 12. Because the names are similar somehow, but they are there. They are tough. I mean, Imam Ali is the successor, but is the chief companion and the companion par excellence from the beginning. So that's also maybe I show you next time. Let's go forward to the main topic. I really want to go. I think it's good background, but I go for sooner to the main topic. In a subsequent passage, Clement elaborated, after the resurrection, the Lord Jesus gave the tradition of knowledge to James the Just and John and Peter. These gave it to the other apostles, and the other apostles to the 70. So this is a discussion of how this number of, because the 12 were the core, and how many were the companion of Jesus. So that again shows the source of knowledge is there. But it's a troika. If you're accepting an act, there's a troika leading the church, which the top is James, and John and Peter are his right hand. Right hand, left hand people. This passage preserves for us a tiered structure of the provisional government that Jesus left behind. James the Just as successor, John and Peter as left and right hand advisors, the rest of the 12 and the 70. Yeah, a structure of 1 and 2, essentially troika, 3, then 12, the rest of 12, maybe 9 or whatever they are. Judas although was betrayed, and the 70. Eusebius, the early 4th century Christian, this guy is very important for the early Christian story, like Ibn Thab, for Sira, or very important. Much of the things we have from him, left from him. A 4th century Christian wrote in the commenting on this passage, James, whom men of old have surnamed Just for his excellence of virtue, is recorded to have been the first elected to the throne of oversight of the Church of Jerusalem. So that's exactly, he's the first successor. The Greek term thronos refers to a seat or chair of authority, and is the same as used for king and ruler. Exactly. You see, exactly the term wali. When a prophet said, Man kunta mawla haza ali mawla, or wali, it has a political meaning, not as a friend. I know I said in another talk that Muawiyah, we have hadith in so many sources, exactly Muawiyah used that wali. He said, I have walayat on you, I'm wali. I am your wali. So that means I'm authority over you. Prophet doesn't say, if I'm your friend, Imam Ali is your friend too. So anyway, Eusebius also preserves the testimony of Eusebius, a Jewish Christian of the early 2nd century, who he says is from the generation after the apostle. So this Eusebius is like Tabi'in, like we have Sahaba, Tabi'in, and Tabi'in, mostly Sunni tradition, Islamic tradition. So he's close. He heard it from the companions in the 2nd century, so you could see the companions, some of them, or if you're younger, first you live in this 1st century and continue to live 2nd century, you can see them. The succession of the church passed to James, the brother of the Lord, together with the apostles. He was called the just by all men from the Lord's time until ours. Since many are called James, but he was holy from his mother's womb. Okay, look, he was holy from his mother's womb. And then mother womb, if you're holy from your mother womb, that womb must be very special. I mean, that must be, I mean, the guy didn't mention the name, so everybody knows it's Mary. So if we accept that, we don't, because we are trapping in the mistake. Catholic Church says, okay, the Mary was virgin to the end, didn't marry, no child, and then which is nothing in it, and nothing Islamic forbidden to have children, marrying. Just Jesus was without father, and we said last lecture there is a solid miracle to prove that. And but after that, there is no need to marry to stay without marrying. Anyway, but although okay, I know some people this is so much entrenched. But anyway, the Greek word that Eusebius used here, the diadexoma to succeed, is regularly used the fasting of a genetic inheritance. For example, when Philip, king of Macedonia, added his road to Alexander. So again, this is very seriously connected, like the hereditary son. And then there is another one which Tabor himself discovered. He said, we have recently recovered a Syriac source, the Ascent of James, which is these books of Ascent, also like Miraj, that is embedded in latter corpus known as Pseudo-Clemente recognitions, which reflects some of the earliest tradition related to Jerusalem church under the leadership of James. It records even in Jerusalem 7 years following the death of Jesus. It records even in Jerusalem 7 years following the death of Jesus, very early. But James is clearly at the hand. The church in Jerusalem that was established by our Lord was increasing numbers, being ruled uprightly and firmly by James, who was made overseer over it by our Lord. This time it said Lord put it, not they voted. Jesus said this should be overseer, everybody accept and go for it. Not, okay, for a while they accepted. You know, contrary to many Islamic one, which they, from the get-go they didn't accept it. But the difference is that in Christianity, the true branch disappeared, or maybe absorbed in Islam. In Islam, we have the true branch, inshallah. The Latin version of the recognition passed on the following admonition. So added this one. Wherever observe the greatest caution, wherefore, observe the greatest caution that you believe no teacher, unless he brings from Jerusalem the testimonial of James, the Lord's brother, or of whosoever may come after him. So you see, these are supposedly very early. They have this view, and the position of James is established. This is not, because this is important about true Christianity and what Jesus did. And then I'm saying, whether James have this lofty position, lofty function, it's most probable to be the biological child of Mary. I mean, I agree. Maybe okay, it's okay to raise by Mary, but I think most probable is the child of Mary. And we are finishing this. So the second Apocalypse of James, one of the texts found with the Gospel of Thomas at night, have already stressed intimate bond between Jesus and James, in keeping with the idea that he was the beloved disciple. John mentioned it. Gospel of John mentioned beloved disciple, but doesn't name. But you can clearly see with other sources it is. It is exactly they have done in Sunni Hadith. The name of Imam Ali is erased when it's positive. They make it vague, and the same techniques of editing are used, hiding it, softening the corners. In this text, Jesus and James are said to have been nursed with the same milk. Okay, you can make it literal, you can make it figurative, yeah. But it could be both. And Jesus kisses brother James and so to him, behold, I shall reveal to you everything, my beloved. Which is kind of the same relationship Prophet and Ali had. Regarding, I will reveal you anything, my beloved. The Gospel of Hebrews put James at the Last Supper. I'm saying this is left over from last lecture, but the Gospel of Hebrews put James at the Last Supper, thus implying he was one of the 12, and making it all the more likely that he is the disciple whom Jesus loved. Although we don't have the entire text, and it preserves us for only quotation in the 4th century Christian writer Jerome, this Gospel was originally written in Hebrew. So this is again that beloved disciple. Some scholars have maintained it might predate even our New Testament Gospels, which is, Gospel of Hebrews is important because written in Hebrew, not necessarily Greek, which is later. What is impressive about these sources is the way in which they speak with a single voice. It comes from various authors and time periods. The basic element, the picture they preserve for us are amazingly consistent. Jesus passes to James, his successor rule of the church. Okay. Okay, I'm not going to do the brother, but I've tried to finish, and then by hour definitely we go to second topic because that's more important. And but I said this time we're doing let's do this complete too. Okay. Okay. One other thing about James is important is this outside this Gospels and religious circle, it is known by Josephus, which is Jewish historian. It is a character which is widely publicly known. I referred to it last time. So James is widely known even by Josephus, an outsider, because of reputation for righteousness, both in his community and among the people. Uh, and then, as we said, James took the leadership of the church after Jesus died around 30 AD, and then maybe on 30, 33, and he was the leader for 30 years, around 62, between summer 62, 66. Uh, but look, it should come no surprise. This is important. But we haven't discussed about Jesus and what was the problem he was forced people want to kill him because he was challenging the establishment. And it wasn't more the Roman, it was the Jewish Sanhedrin, the leader, the who controlled the temple, making money out of it. And they were working with the Roman occupation and then and making a business for themselves. So it should come as no surprise that his main enemies were the same as those who had his brother executed, means Jesus. So enemy of James, because we know James was martyr. I mean, look, the martyr was the way we studied last lecture and we see today that the high priest wants to kill him, but because the Roman ruler was really ruling and doesn't want any disturbance, and you know what these Jewish leaders want after, the Sanhedrin. I mean, you have to know there was some differences between those who controlled the temple and those who the rural places uh, running the synagogues. There were differences. Temple ones were much richer and maybe Hellenized and secularized, although they make money out of the temple. But really, in the personal life, they become very Hellenized and secularized. The typical clergy of the synagogues were not as much. And then the two groups, Pharisees and Sadducees. Sadducees maybe come from Saduq, Saduq, righteous, the title they use for themselves. They were controlling the temple, but they're very analyzed. And in such a level, they start to deny hereafter. But the Pharisees with Jesus, I mean, Jesus had most dispute with them, was closest to them too. So this is not the time to go through that. But the point is that the chief priest, high priest, wants to kill James too, because they're worried about the movement, and then because the whole story of Jesus 30 years before. So the first occasion, they find they did their plot. So look, it should come as no surprise that his main enemies were the same as those who had his brother executed, namely the Sadducean high priestly families that were in charge of the temple. They were very rich, Hellenized, and secularized. It is surely an irony of history that the high priest Annas, son of the Annas, who had presided at the trial of Jesus, was behind the murder of James. So I think the two guys were the same name, and the son of the same another guy, which the first one resided in the trial of Jesus and was pushing to his execution and death to Pontius Pilate, the Roman emperor, is the son of him killed James, the younger brother. Was behind the murder of James also at the season of Passover, the year AD 62. And again, it was around Passover. They did it at year 62. Josephus is our best historical source of James then, and its testimony is of immense value. Considering there was a contemporary of James that he had himself risen to prominence in Jewish society, according to Josephus, because the other ones are older, they're Christian, they're second or third century. He's a first century, maybe even, I'm not sure he saw James, but it was the same time. According to Josephus, the young Annas was rash in temper and usually daring. So you see, these guys become high priests like in medieval popes that they'll call it or bishops. The seat and position was traded and bought, and then they would not have religious or educational really equality. So this Annas guy, which is the high priest now, the family start to get the control after Zechariah, and then for 100 years they ruled, and then they were very corrupt. According to Josephus, the younger Annas was rash in temper and usually daring. being heartless in judgment toward any who opposed him. Judea at that time was still ruled directly by Roman governor, but the Emperor Claudius had put the remainder of the country under the last ruler of the Herodian dynasty, Herod Agrippa. We said nothing about it. That's for now, we don't have time. Great grandson of Herod the Great. Herod the Great was the leader at the time of Jesus. This is the one who ordered to execute John the Baptist, Herod the Great, because of the demand his wife made to, I want the head of Yahya. So this is Herod the Great, and then his one grandson is still ruling. When the Roman governor Festus died and his replacement Albinus was on the way to Rome, Annas took advantage of the opportunity and had James arrested and brought before the Sanhedrin, which he and his henchmen controlled. He charged James and some others, presumably Nazarenes, with transgressing the Jewish law and delivered them to stone, which they didn't. They exactly follow. Actually, the whole difference with Paul was start to transgressing the Jewish law. Paul didn't do anything to Paul, but Paul, they executed James. Josephus' own words are worth quoting. He, Annas, convened the judges of the Sanhedrin and brought before them James, the brother of Jesus, called Christ. They used that title. And some others on the accusation of breaking the law, and delivered to them to be stoned. And those inhabitants of the city who were considered the most fair-minded and who were strict in observance of the law were offended at this. So the people in the city didn't believe that. They know these guys are pious guys. They're following the Sharia, the halakha. So they know this is just execution for no reason. It is surely significant that Josephus, who was, like Imam was saying, look, you see Imam Hussein's martyred by those guys in the name of Islam. You are Khariji, Yazid is good. So exactly, you see some, not that level, but you see something like that. And James and some companions. It is surely significant Josephus, who was a Pharisee and not part of the Nazarene movement, not only recorded the execution of James, but also that James was the brother of Jesus. A delegation of leading Jewish citizens traveled to Caesarea with Agrippa to hold the court. Another ruler of Roman, actually was Agrippa, I think was the ruler. Sorry, I don't know exactly what position he had, but where Agrippa too held the court and complained about the murder of the James. Some of them went even to meet Albinus, who was making his way from Alexandria. So people were such upset. I think went find the Roman emperor, which was in Caesarea, to complain about murdering James. So it was a big deal. It wasn't that, okay, somebody executed, nobody cared about. And then someone moved to maybe to the governor. The new governor was taking his time to come in his position, who was making his way from Alexandria, because he was coming from Alexandria in Egypt. To take a while to reach here. Albinus was furious and wrote to Annas threatening punishment. In the meantime, Agrippa had him stripped of the priesthood that he had only held for 3 months. So this guy also was priest. The young Annas was young priest only for a few months. And he got lucky that the Roman emperor died, and in these few months he martyred James. But then the new Roman the emperor, I think, removed. Let me see, just the emperor was. I don't know. Okay, Agrippa. Oh no, Agrippa. Okay, sorry. Agrippa was the Herodian dynasty. It was a Roman emperor. But so even the Herodian dynasty, with the great grandfather of this guy, killed Yahya, John the Baptist. Now here, he was upset. This is not right. So you don't want to do that. So nobody agreed with them, but it was too late. All of this was because of his move against James. Eusebius, the early 4th century Christian historian, who lived in Palestine, claimed Josephus mentioned James again in later passages, which he quotes. So maybe this is from Eusebius. Maybe we don't have the quotes, the book of manuscript from Josephus we have now. But it says, Eusebius says, Josephus said, and these things, maybe is not there in the extant manuscript, but Eusebius has seen it in it and quotes. And these things happened to the Jews, and then the destruction of the city and the temple, to avenge James the Just, who was the brother of Jesus called Christ. For the Jews killed him in spite of his great righteousness. So you see, you have all these mentioned about him, and the same like Imam. So it said, look, we can see the calamity happened to some Muslims because of the unjust killing. I was saying that kind of view here is that the destruction of Jerusalem, destruction of Second Temple, this diaspora, the Jews are on it, are part of this unrighteous killing of the James. Even though this passage is not found in our late 14th century copies of Josephus, it is possibly authentic as it was known to originate a 3rd century Christian scholar, so we must be there at the early verse. The things to which Josephus referred in context are the events surrounding the Jewish revolt and the Roman destruction of Jerusalem AD. Okay, I think we have said enough. The rest I'm not going to read because I want to. Yeah, I will discuss this maybe next lecture. Let's go just to mention the succession to James. We said that following the death of James in AD, Eusebius reported that the remaining apostles gathered with those left of the family of Lord, and they took counsel together as to who should succeed James. He wrote, they all unanimously decided that Simeon, or Simon, the son of Clophas, was worthy of the throne. Eusebius noted that Cleopas mentioned in the Gospel of John was the brother of Joseph, husband of Mary, and thus Davidic lineage. Okay, son Simeon, the son of Cleopas, which in some aspects they have referred, some other places they have referred it as brother of Jesus, becomes successor of James. Now, for now, let's keep the story like this. I will continue with next lecture, but I want to go to the main, and then maybe I do some of those slides also skip. To do that. So I'm not going to do Simeon and this I'll put other one, but I want to go to the main topic today. Sorry about the delay, but I think I will do it. So what I want to do is presenting a research which I will show it to you, which was done very interestingly regarding the mother of Imam Mahdi alayhi salam, which usually we call her as Nargis. Now look, there is a hadith, which this article is all about, with the information we have, which is coming in the book of Shaykh Saduq, which is the book called Kamal ad-Din wa Tamam ad-Ni'man. This is mostly about Imam Mahdi, the hadith, Ghaiba or Mahdaviya. It's mostly Mahdaviya, about Imam Mahdi, all different aspects. Kamal ad-Din wa Tamam ad-Ni'man by Shaykh Saduq. And then the hadith is long. You know, there is a partial longer English translation by a scholar in the 1930s, but that is not all of it, but actually most of it he translated. But we don't need all of it because we don't have, and look, this is Arabic Farsi. First page, second page, we don't need third page, fourth page. It's part of the hadith, all our long hadith, because it says companions of what happened, and then what I have to do, where I have to go, what happened. All these are relatively long hadiths. So even we don't need the fifth page, we need the sixth page, okay? We start from the sixth page. And we start from here, that this I will see. Look, the story happens, you know, all that the mother of the Imam Mahdi was a Roman princess. We were going to see that more. And then for some stories, she saw dreams and converted to Islam. And on a plan, in the dreams, she started to go to the frontier. And at the frontier, she was captured. She was taken to the slave market at Baghdad.
Hold it. Sorry to stop you. The hadith is from who?
Shaykh Saduq. Shaykh Saduq.
I know, but the hadith is so.
Yeah, you're right. The hadith, actually, I will say it to you. It is a companion of Tentemel, which, when I go to the main article, I will say to which part, each people.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a good one. Because this is long, because a companion of Imam tells, and then maybe actually another one says, I heard from this companion this story. So we'll go that. I think Bishop Sulaiman, من ولد Abu Ayyub Ansari. This is the real Bishop Sulaiman in the house of we'll see it. And because there is long contradicted, look, yeah, that's a good thing. Actually, I didn't focus on that. Maybe it's good to know you ask me to check it. Look, He's Saduq and the main narrator. The main narrator of the story you see is somebody called Bishr ibn Sulaiman and Nuhas, من ولد Abu Ayyub Ansari. So he's the children of Abu Ayyub Ansari, the very famous companion. و یکی از موالیان امام هادی and امام عسکری. He was one of the companion of 10th and 11th Imam. And this is the story. Okay. But the point I'm saying, we don't need these parts. We just start from here. But I want to show you this in Arabic because then I have to move to somewhere else. Is this. Look, because the part we discussed is from here. I will tell you why we did. This companion told to the, as I said, the mother of Imam Mahdi sold herself in the slave market. This companion go buy her. There are lots of stories there, and then take her away. And then when they are in Baghdad, show her the letter of Imam 10th Imam to her, and then she start to kiss the letter, and then this guy was surprised. Said, okay, I know he knew something because Imam told him. Said, how are you kissing the letter of somebody you don't know? And then the lady replied, don't you have some, for example, awareness of the lofty status of knowledge of the Imams? And then she started to tell the story. So this is autobiography of the mother of Imam Mahdi from her opinion. What happened? So it says, Sam'aka wa farriq li qalbaka. So listen to me, and the Sukhan Farsi says, the Sukhan Gush listen to me and put your mind or heart in what I'm saying. So we start from here. Sam'aka wa farriq li qalbaka, and then okay, but the reason I want to say, I want to show you something, and then we go to the English one, and it takes the next half hour, is this. It says, Ana Malikatu bint Yeshua. So who she is, Malikatu, my name, Man Malika, I'm Malika, the daughter of Yeshua. Yeshua is technically Jesus, because Jesus, Yeshua. Joshua is coming from that. We can call it Yusha too, because Isa is a story, which in Arabic we call it Isa, is a change in the name of Yeshua in Aramaic. The same way James we are using for Yaqub, which even in English is Jacob, and then how we become James. This is the same story. Isa is the same type of change for Yeshua, or Joshua. So, but he says, I'm Malika, the daughter of Yeshua. But who is this Yeshua? And this Yeshua was the sign of this word. Look in Arabic, then we go discuss it. Qaysar Malik. Now, there are two titles used, which is part of discussion. Qaysar is Kaiser, Caesar, Caesar. So, and then Malik is king, but here usually means emperor. Rome here means Byzantine. So the lady says, I'm Malika, the daughter of Yeshua, which doesn't go too much in the discussion. Or for Bazar the Yusha, they make it Yusha Nabi, or they change it to the more Arabic form. And Yeshua and Qaysar Malik Rum, so we discussed it. But Ummi, this is important for me. Ummi, when Bold al-Havariyun, my mother is from the daughter of disciples. Tunsabu ila Masi al-Masisham. Okay, disciples, but taking lineage to who? To Masi. Now, Masi Shamun, it doesn't say Shamun the rock, but people understand it that. It doesn't say Shamun and Safa. It says Shamun the successor. Or vicegerent, and some people, okay, like the Sunni understanding of Messiah, executor the will, but this is not executor the will. Jesus, this is against Sunni Shia thing, but I put it aside. Wasi means the successor. At least we understood it. Imam Ali was Wasi of Prophet. It's executor the will too, but it's a successor. Wasi, and then most English translation use it vicegerent, or successor or something. Masih Shamun. And then it's not saying Shamun Astafa, it doesn't say Shamun the rock, or because we have in some hadith Shamun Astafa, which is called Peter. This is my claim, is that this Shamun is successor of Jesus. We just saw that Simon, brother of Jesus, Simon Clophas, get the succession of James. And then you have, and this is on mother's side. So again, the lineage go through the mother. And then these are among Havarim. You know, the point we said, although the list of the Bibles are does not explicitly the family of Jesus among Havarim, and have produced a kind of rivalry or distinction between companions and Havarim, or a companion of family, the same for somebody was Sahaba and the family of Prophet. Family of Prophet were the Sahaba too, although they accept that. But here you see that. And I want to say this word is used a couple of times in this hadith. One more time, again, Vasika Shamun is actually, she saw in a dream that Jesus, the Prophet, I mean, I skipped this part. This part is a dream part that in the dream that Prophet encountering Jesus there, Prophet is there, Prophet request her from Jesus and his brother Shamun. It doesn't say brother you, but he says is your successor for his son. So in the dream, Prophet from the family of 10th and 11th Imam asked this girl, which is a descendant of Jesus' family, technically, and his successor, to give us this daughter. And again, what you get, Vasiyah Shamun, because this is important later on. And then, just one other thing about her name. We saw Malika was her name earlier, but then we see at some part of the story when it is in Baghdad, because now telling the whole story to this companion of Emma, what happened to me, and until I was sold in the market and you come bought me. And then he said, those guys in the market asked me, what is your name? And then I said, also Nargis. So people have picked up this Nargis Muslim. And then the guy said, this is Ismul Jawari. You know, this is kind of, so Nargis is now popular, but at that time was the name of, female slaves. So that the guy's name, Stellar, thought like that. And then the question is now, what is exactly the name of the modern Mahdi? There could be dispute. And then what about the Malika, which we saw it earlier, she identified herself. That's possible. I know it says Anna Malika bint Yeshua. Maybe Malika is the name, but Malika can mean first princess too. The same name Malak means the king or emperor. Malika, so it could be read, I am a princess, daughter of Yeshua, the son of the Kaiser or an emperor of Rome. And then the question is that you could understand when she's talking now, this person is ruling. I mean, the could be has passed away because his grandfather is her grandfather. But I think we go through it. The time of talking is the time that this guy is really ruling. You know, for example, Germans. Look, I'm saying this stuff. Don't worry, I'm going to the article to go straight through. But I don't want to go back and forth. Maybe I should have done it. So let's stay in the point that we don't need to come back to the screen because the article is somewhere else. But the point is that, for example, in World War II, the Germans captured Stalin's son, so as a prisoner of war. So that Stalin's sons can say, I'm so and so, the son of Stalin, which is now the ruler of Russia. Now, so this Qaysar Malik, it seems, is now ruling in Byzantine, is alive. Because he could be grandfather passed away, but this is the case. Okay, I think for now it's good. There is one more thing. Okay, this one, if I need it, I come back. If not, then. So let me find the other one. Sorry about this, because I couldn't make slides. So I really have to, yeah. So I will share with you, and then we go from the paper, and then it's better to. Okay, look, this paper is published. There are some things in the journal Al-Mastab, is a Jordanian journal of medieval Mediterranean, and it's academic journal. And then look, the title they have to use and the politics they have to use to publishing is very interesting, and I think part of this we discussed. We want to part publishing in Western Academy and how we should work. So it's not anything about Imam Mahdi. It's an ignored Arabic account of a Byzantine royal woman. So they want to put somehow this information in spotlight, but you have to do the politics right, because the hadiths have many miraculous dimension, hagiographical dimension. So part of the article is justifying we can use this hadith as historical hadith or sources or elements of it which are very metaphysical or miraculous. And actually this teaches us in all these mixtures which naturally happen. You tell any story from anybody ancient times, this mythical story is coming. It is for Cyrus, for Alexander. So because of those elements, you cannot deny the whole existence of Alexander or Cyrus. But you can say, okay, part of it historical, part of it maybe added to it, part of it fiction, but part of it, okay, maybe in the middle. So آقای تقوی و آقای احسان روحی و آقای کریمی they have done this work. And then it's good to read the abstract, because completely this is also teaching of how, because those who study this, maybe mostly from university, how we can put it spotlight. You have to do it, put it out in academy. You have to accept publishing it. It was me direct. So look, I just read this abstract because you see completely different angle. It's not the angle you are anticipating. Imperial and aristocratic Byzantine women had a wide variety of rules with the spectrum of importance. One possible way reach our information about Byzantine royal women consult the historical and cultural heritage of Byzantium, adjacent territories. So it's about Byzantine high-level princes. We want to get more information on what they live. The primary aim of this article is thus to trace Byzantine women in the Arabic Shi'i literature, exemplified by the underutilized autobiography of hitherto unidentified Roman priestess named Malika. Probably because Malika's autobiography, along with hagiographic and miraculous elements, is found in a source from the Shia tradition, the Shaykh Saduq, which we saw. The account's potential historical value gave the notice of previous Byzantines. Despite its hagiographic character, Malika's story has historical core. Through an intertextual study between Arabic and Byzantine historical texts, the present study seeks to shed light on the identification of Malika and pattern. But you know what it does is this. This article, because when you read that hadith long, have very miraculous story in it. And sometimes people start to doubt it, even Shia believers. When we're talking about Western scholarship or non-Shias. By going through this historical process, actually, it is historical, it is true. Their core element story fits what was going on in Byzantium, which unbeknown, nobody knows it, nobody knew it in the last 1,000 years, 1,200 years, 1,400 years, and clarify who she is, who his father, ancestor is, and what her real name maybe is. So this is the right we are going to have. Unfortunately, I think we'll go to 9, but I try to go faster. Then you can read the article yourself if you want. I know there was some couple of good talk in Farsi about it, but not I don't know any English. I'm going to skip some of it, but the point is this: as we said, the hadith which we discussed, it is contained in the book of Shaykh Saduq, which Shaykh Saduq Ibn Bawai, which is buried in the south of Tehran in Ray. It died in 1991 AD, so it's about 1,030, 40 years ago. The events we know is a little bit earlier because he died here, but we're talking about events in middle 19th century. So because some, the story, these are some, I'm not going to go through that, but what we have is at this part, not all of it. I will read the part they selected. Remember the hadith was 6 pages. We're only reading about 1 page or half a page. So they see, this is the politics, how you present. As important what you put is as you put out. So part of it, if somebody is listening to this, is the business of this academic or studying, or this is good example how to do it. And then God help them to be successful. But also then we can use it in our case from the other side. So I will read this part because this is the important part. So as I told you, where it starts in the hadith. The Bawi relates that the tale of certain Bishop Suleiman and Al-Hadis, the 10th Imam, trustworthy disciple. Imam Hadi was living 828, 868, so we need to have this date in mind. About 40 years, this is solar calendar. Trustworthy disciple and neighbor is Samara. So Bishop Sulaiman was living in Samara because some of the companions do not live in Samara, mostly for Kufa actually. The Imam asked Bish to go with him to purchase the Roman girl. This part I don't agree. I don't know why they write it like that. The hadith and the way I was saying, Imam sent him. Imam himself doesn't go to Baghdad. I think the whole hadith also shows that the Bish brought the lady to Samara, because I think the other thing is that the fact Imam was Samara was under surveillance, so it wasn't easy for him to move. So to go to Baghdad, because you have to know at that time the capital is Samara. You can move from Baghdad to Samara, and then the 10th and 11th Imam are very is a military barrack. The city is more like a military barrack. It's tightly controlled. Mutawakkil built it, and Mutas and Mutawakkil are there, and so it is. So this part, the authors, I don't know why they write it like this, but no, Imam sent Bishop Sulaiman. As you can read the hadith and everywhere, the Lady Malika see Imam when they come back to Salman, when they went back to Samara. So the Imam asked Bish to go and purchase a Roman girl at the Baghdad slave market. According to Al-Hadi, the girl was captured in a war between Rome and the Abbasis before being brought to Baghdad. Okay, Imam Hadi had told the Bish before going what has happened. So, so Bish will hear the story, some of it from Imam Hadi and some of it from Lady Malika, and then both match together. So this early part, they have very much summarized, which, as I showed you, there were 4 pages earlier than that, which I didn't say anything about it. When Bish confronts the Lady Malika, she introduced herself this way. So this is the part, autobiographical part, and it's not all of it. There are something after this we don't know. I am Malika, daughter of Yeshua, son of Qaysar Malik of Rome. My mother is a descendant of Jesus' disciple Havariyun, from the bloodline of Shamun, the executor, or the or the successor, or the vicegerent. The other English translator, the one in 1930s did it, they called vicegerent of Jesus. Allow to me to tell you a wonderful happening. So as I said, my next lecture I will continue to this line, the Shamun, the successor, which is that is the brother of Jesus. But the rest of the story, let's focus on the main idea here. Allow me to tell you a wonderful happening. My forefather Caesar, so his grandfather, grandfather, Caesar decided to marry me. So here call him Caesar, not Caesar Malik. So use only one title. So that will be the question. Is, you see, we have the title for Malik, we have the title for Caesar. Well, we didn't have titles Caesar Malik together. That was one of the first puzzles they have to solve, and how it could be Caesar and Malik together. So let me finish the reading. I will explain that exactly means. My forefather Caesar decided to marry me to his brother's son. Okay, so his grandfather, so brother's son. So this group is the uncle of his father, so cousin of his father, actually. And when I was a girl of 13, so maybe they have different ages. This could be one of the reasons. So he gathered the invitees in his palace, including 300 from the descendants of the disciple of Jesus. Okay, if that could be true or could be from the known family of Jesus. This is a little bit. Monks and Christian priests. Also 700 from the grandees and nobles. So you kind of accept some addition, but it could be true. If that's the case, that they knew who were the descendants or disciples of Jesus. 700 from the grandees and nobles, as well 4,000 from the commanders of the army. So it's a big ceremony. The grandfather is a Byzantine emperor, Roman emperor. Chieftains of the military leaders of the armed forces, the land gentry. That's a very possible. They invite everybody from the family, and he's a big man. Like you see the wedding of those 2 billionaires of India takes 7 days, a very huge one. So he then erected a magnificent throne inlaid with a variety of jewels, placed in the reception hall of the palace, and raised upon 40 steps. The group stepped higher up on the seat. The crosses placed round about the throne, and the bishop stood to pay him honor and opened the scripture to read it. Suddenly the crosses collapsed from the top and hit the ground, and the pillars of the throne crumbled and crashed the floor. The groom fell on his face unconscious, and the bishop changed Way-faced and their chest trembled. The chief of the bishop in this situation turned to my father, saying, "O my lord, exempt us from this. It is a sign of deterioration of Christianity." The Caesar, however, did not reconsider his decision, ordered raise the columns and set the throne up again. The groom brother was summoned to sit on the throne and to marry me, but the earthquake disturbed the ceremony for the second time. The ceremony ended, but the scandal ruined Caesar's reputation. Now, the this this okay. The point is that what wasn't clear from translation. The first time these crosses and other things fall, maybe is because of the earthquake too. So we have one earthquake and then the tremors coming after that, because it doesn't say the cause, and then it's not explicit that the first son of brother died, but it seems it is the case that he was dead after the fall of the pillars and him. It says that the groom fell on his face unconscious maybe here. My understanding was in some other cases he died. So we have to say there are different narrations of this hadith too. I forgot to say. There is a version, Shaykh Saduq has it. There is a version, this is an important but unknown author, Muhammad ibn Jarir al-Rustam Tabari. This is not the famous historian Tabari. This is a Shii Tabari. That other Tabari is called Muhammad ibn Jarir ibn Yazid Tabari. This is Muhammad ibn Jarir al-Rustam Tabari. So they're different. This guy, his book has been influential, but some cause of sometimes confusion too. So Atusi has it. Muhammad ibn Jarir al-Rustam Tabari has it. Naturally, Bahar al-Anwar has it too. And some references we'll see later on to the not the detail of this hadith, all detail, but self references to her and the fact she's Roman and other stuff also you find in other textbooks, which will show it, discuss it. So this is the hadith, and the points I want to mention. So maybe I mention the points and then we go forward. So as I said, I understand the first group to be died. The Caesar was relenting. Maybe notice very strange. He said, "Bring the other brother." So for whatever reason, maybe she's intending that the successor to this throne be somebody born out of her or something like that. I don't know exactly why he was insistent, because we see his character was a reasonable person. And then, but that also stopped because the second earthquake came. People, let's not do it. And okay, but the point, as I said, the first thing is this two title, which is important. Their research showed, and I even checked with one of these artificial AIs, kind of said that too. I will show it to you later. A Malik title was used for emperor, which is the supreme king or leader of Byzantine, Malik. Qaysar is not combined to Malik. Qaysar, usually Kaiser, which is the old name of or Caesar, Roman emperor. So they keep two names, emperor and Caesar. Caesar was mostly before the Roman Empire, when it unified, become empire, was republic, but is usually for a designated successor, like Valiat we have, but it wasn't always bloodline, the son. In Iran, I have Shah and Valiat. This Qaysar is like Valiat, and Malik like Shah Emperor. But Qaysar usually was the successor, or very powerful ruler, maybe intended successor. The combination was rare. But that's one of the puzzles they had, that how she called it Qaysar Malik, because some other places call it Qaysar, I think, mostly call it Caesar. Some places she called, I think one more time, Malik. I'm not sure about that right now. I have to check it. But you see here, she's calling her grandfather. Mostly you're talking grandfather. Father is not much relevant. Grandfather is the clue. So the Caesar is Caesar and one Caesar. But we'll see. This is one of the puzzles they have to solve, and then you see they solve it. This is a very interesting feature. Which I mean, it could be these narrators have mixed it. Still, Shaykh Saduq was writing 100 years after the event, and Shaykh Saduq has some. I mean, for example, it's not Kulaini. You know, we don't want to go through that. But okay, that's the first part. Now, they review the researches before. Okay, some scholars like Muhammad Amin Muizzi outright rejecting it. Some people say more politely, okay, it's much to it. We cannot rely historically. There is a person in Iran which did the Farsi work. He gave his name is Kamal as Sayyed. I'm not sure he's Irani or maybe Iraqi, because he writes Kamal al-Sayyid, mother of Mahdi. He seems writing Farsi, but it is other mode in his also hashtag about 23 years ago, that he correctly identified who this Caesar is, but it was mostly guess, just not any solid argument. I mean, just guess it correctly. And then we'll see. The name we should remember is this grandfather of Lady Malika, which, as I said, son is not very important, is somebody called Caesar Bardas. But the title is Caesar. So that's what notice. He's really a Caesar, not a Malik. Not a Malik. So his title is real title, function at first is Caesar or Qaysar. And that's she mostly call her Caesar. But in one sense, we can treat him and Malik. We will see that. The solving all these was really like a clue. They step by step have gone through the researchers, and it's fantastic achievement. This is also the older book I said is 1933, published in the first book I think regarding Shiism in English. And the guy really tried to do her best to write Imdan associate religious story of Islam in Persia and Iraq. But okay, and he translated much of the hadith, longer than what we have here. But I mean, for now, we don't have time to go through that. Now, so, you know, the whole strategy they go is that the hagiographic character of the account, what is narrated from Lady Malika in this hadith, because there are continuation after it too. They cut it out, put it out. Did not deter us. Literary and non-historical motives in the sources does not entail that every detail must simply recount a sheer image. That's what was learned. This is important. Look, many sources are becoming like that after many time, after many years. People adding to it. They make the stories even for Nasruddin Shah, Nader Shah, Shah Abbas, you know. So when they make these anecdotes, mixing it history and this kind of stories, literally constructs on non-historical motives, we shouldn't throw away the whole thing, because there must be a true story and not everything is sheer invention. So he says our goal is to shed light on identification who's Malika and who's grandfather, and then they take a range. We don't need to be worried what they argue, but remember, the Imam Hadi was 828, 868. So because they're Shia believers, we accept the truth of the general truth of the hadith. So there must be an age that at least Imam Hadi could have a son, son. So the range they took was Imam Hadi was living 820 to 868. So this shouldn't be after 868, because we know Imam Hadi passed away by 868. They put a high year 867 that these events can happen. You know, she's captured, brought. So you have to look at who's the ruler at the Roman Byzantine Empire at 860. So this is the end year. The early part they put 814. You can go a little bit earlier later, but it's reasonable 814 because Imam Hadi, you know, should have some age. So you look to this area period. So see, that's how you do the detective work, narrowing. Okay, if this story is true, we know what year Imam Hadi was living and what year Imam Askari was born. Who was the ruler of the Byzantine? Who were the Maliks and who were the Caesars? Because still the title was used was Caesar Malik or Caesar Malik. So you need to look both. So that's what they did, and No, because I want to make it a little bit shorter too. Let me show it to you somewhere else. Uh, what is the situation is, and then we skip to more feature. Yeah, let me show that to you, and then we go to. Yeah. Okay. Look. Look. I asked. This is actually Claude AI to list for me the rulers of Byzantine emperors of 9th century. The time they are checking, as you see, is exactly this period. Interestingly, there is one person covering nearly all this period. So even if you go 842 a little bit earlier, uh, even because you said we said they put the cut 840 to 867, but even they go to the life of the Imam Jawad, the whole life of it, the 10th Imam Hadi, go to all the life of Imam Hadi, the 10th Imam, become 828 to 868, go a little bit earlier, 820. So we are talking three names, okay, if you look into the Malaks. They don't fit, none of them fit to the conditions. They have investigated one by one, and so the Malaks doesn't work, but we'll see, the story is a little complicated. Look, one thing, this Claude AI said it, during this period, Caesar was no longer used as a primary imperial title. The main imperial title was Basilius, which means emperor, which is Malak. Okay, and then one thing we have to do, we come back to this, and then the other thing is that this king, which you write here, Michael III was a child when he became emperor. So his mother Theodora served as the regent, from 842 to 856. And this is important to kind of define the whole grandfather of Lady Malika. This century saw the end of. Then it lost. Look, although there are only few kings, they changed dynasty. It wasn't so strong. They become getting the power, and then this dynasty and that dynasty. And then it says this century saw the end of Isaurian dynasties, the Nicephorian dynasty, the Amorian dynasty, and the beginning of Macedonian dynasty. Now, this is important for us. This Michael drunkard, and I think Michael II, Theophilus, Michael III are Amorian dynasties, this three. And then, this, and interesting, this drunkard wasn't in the paper, but it exactly matches what I say. This addition they could use, this information they could use in the paper. The guy means very young, become king. His mother was ruling it, but I think she didn't have much control. And then maybe he become alcoholic because of the way of things were going there. And then when he has an age at 857 to be really ruling himself, he's a drunkard himself. And then we will see, okay, to kind of give the answer away, the real ruler of the country, although it is Caesar Bardas, we will see that. Remember, Caesars were designated successors, and sometimes they usually powerful military or viziers or governing people. So the name had a little bit, it was an imperial name, it wasn't for use for the emperor or Malik or Basilius was used. But during the situation was that mother was, I will show it to you, mother was ruling, and then mother was with the faction, and gradually the king himself and other people were dissatisfied with the faction, and mother was pushed away. And then this Caesar Bardas came, which is Caesar Bardas is the grandfather of Malika, and Caesar Bardas effectively is ruler of the country too. Technically he's not the emperor, but really he's ruling the country. He's effectively the de facto ruler of the country. So de facto he's the emperor, like this Ben Salman. Look, nowadays Ben Salman is technically is not the ruler of the country. His father, Mohammed bin Salman, is Salman bin Abdulaziz is alive. Technically he's the king, but Ben Salman is Caesar. But effectively he's the Malik. So Ben Salman really, I know, notice Ben Salman is the perfect example of Caesar Malik, Qaysar Malik. And technically is a Valiat. Some Valiat doesn't do anything, like Prince Charles. Although the Queen didn't have. So for a long time, the Valiat, they're Caesar. But exactly de facto ruler, the one who decides. So it was. See, the wording of Hadith is unbelievable because the title technically is not. Somebody cannot be at the same time Valiat and king. Either you're king or Valiat or Shah. But exactly this has happened. Exactly for Ben Salman, which is a unique situation. With Jordan, for example, the son of the king is just doing his work. He doesn't do anything. The king is king, but that's exactly the situation. And then, and because of that, first you think, okay, the title is maybe wrong. The who writes the hadith doesn't know, mixed Qaysar and Malak, and she herself used Qaysar mostly later on. But the point is that's correct. He is a Caesar Bardas, which is designated ruler after the Michael III, but actually effectively ruling the country exactly like Ben Salman. And then you can see when she's ruling the country is from 857. So we have a time from 857 to 868 that the 10th Imam passing away. So we have 12 years this happened. And then, and if you go to the ages, we can have, because Lady Malika, we see, is 13 years old. So one of the things they couldn't find somebody as a daughter, doesn't have the right granddaughter, or so on. So we know it's Michael, and then the other thing is the Amorian dynasty are Armenian. Look, you have maybe lower the 50s part of it too. Lower the 50s called Armenian. Look, this Amorian, and at least Michael is Armenian, or at least we know Caesar Bardas is Armenian. And that's interesting. So Lady Malika, which maybe go for Iran too, is Armenian. How they moved over there, but Armenian by language, Armenian by culture. Because look, not all are like that. The next king is called Macedonia. Basil one is Macedonia. Macedonia is the west of the Constantinople, is the Macedonia, is the Alexander came from. While this Michael Drunkard Amorian dynasty, which could started from low V, I'm going to see the article. These guys are Armenian. So a Lady Malika, and including Caesar Bardas. So you see, these are Armenian groups ruling and kind of. So these are some details. Okay, let me go faster to the article. Then okay. So then we go to I tried to go to the main line of the article. Then okay. So one of the things they had to find. I go to the time period. We find really. They went first 848, 868. I showed to you that really we can go 857 and 868. They first limited to find who the Malaks, I show you the table to find the Malaks, and then they didn't find anybody useful in the Malaks. And so okay. So they didn't find anybody in the emperors to be fitting the story. And now the other thing in the story was, what are the features we should have in mind when fitting it? Maybe, first I should have listed this. I didn't say it. I went to go to there. But look, when we look into the hadith, the section of the hadith, what are the main feature we are extracting from this main hadith that we have to have in mind? As I said, we have this issue of Caesar Malik. We can go with the Caesar, what's this Caesar, and then we notice, okay, now it makes sense to be even calling him Caesar Malik like the Ben Salman. But what are the other features that the hadith says? Because there are some parts of the hadith which I didn't read fully and it wasn't in the translation. One of these is that first the Caesar had a granddaughter. Now we know it's the Caesar, so let's go with the Caesar. Caesar should have granddaughter of marriable age. He must be a powerful position because you see part of the hadith which we didn't read. Malika says that with my grandfather I went to the front. So this Caesar was also military commander and very capable military commander. The Caesar should have a brother and nephew and two nephews because they were going to marry Malika, and then the first one died, the second one. earthquake came. So the brother also must be a high-ranking person. Then, as part of the, as I said, the Qaysar took part in person military expedition against Arabs. So you must find the Qaysar which really fought with the Arabs in the Eastern Front. And then the other thing, we know that Malika, as the discussion hadith goes, he understands Arabic. And then Bishop Sulaiman asked her that, how you know Arabic? You are Roman, how you know Arabic? How you can understand Arabic? Because at least we don't anticipate she does miracles. You know, Imams maybe know Arabic, but not the Malika. And then Malika said, I was taught Arabic. My father was a very educated man. My grandfather was a very educated man, caring about my education. And they took for me a lady and she taught me Arabic. Although it's not clear whether she started to learn Arabic before seeing those dreams or just as the sake of a general education, which makes sense. You know, look, Islamic Empire was a big empire. This is after Mahmud, all the science knowledge is there. So, and then you're Byzantine, you're fighting with them, and so it's typically the right language to learn. And and many of your subordinates are Syriac or Arabic speaking. The Christians in Byzantine Empire, they're talking some of those Semitic languages, not as much as before. So knowing those Semitic languages is helpful. So there are motivations that the grandfather wanted to teach the granddaughter language, but he must be very cultured himself. So he must have a great deal for education scholarship. You must find somebody with this kind of character, not somebody who cannot read himself and then have the granddaughter knowing Arabic if the story is true. The hadith says, unfortunately we couldn't read the whole hadith because I don't have English translation and it took a lot of time. But this is due to my forefather passion and eagerness for education. So this are the feature. So we have these features. We know that the emperors were not born. Kind of, I went fast through it, but it must be a Kaiser or Caesar or Qaysar. But must the granddaughter marriageable age, the brother or nephew must have. He must be involved in the expedition. A great deal of scholarship, some knowledge, education. It must not be a military man. It must be a military man which is known by also arts and education, this kind of thing. And then they looked, as I said, they looked at let's skip it. They looked to all these emperors and the Kaisers. And then the Kaisers, there are not that many fit. The conclusion is that it has become obvious to this point that none of the emperors in the above mentioned period fits the picture. And our focus turned to the Caesars for the near time. There were only two Caesars during the mid-19th century, Caesar Alexius Musili and Caesar Bardas. Not all these emperors have the designated Balia. Sometimes they're short-lived or they're scared to announcing somebody as Caesar. So, because the guy would take care of them. And then this Caesar Alexius Musili also didn't work. The former should be ruled out dominated because of his childless marriage. He didn't have child, let alone grandchild. And then, although he married a daughter of an emperor, if she had a child, maybe he could be Caesar Malik too. But we are left with only one candidate who fits our time period, Caesar Bardas. Either is this kind of no one. So it kind of things are getting easy. But remember, this is the same person that Iranian or Iraqi author in Iran just guessed correctly, but without any reason. But look, so what are the features are, because we want to finish this in 15 minutes. The Caesar Bardas was the Caesar, or simply Caesar, was born in an Armenian family around 800. So by this time, which we are talking, is 50 years old, or maybe between 50 to 60 years, 50 to 70. If 848 is 50, something like. And then he was the brother of Empress herself. He had lived through the period of 3 emperors. And then, but he becomes recognized in the time of Michael III. I'm not going to do the detail. Remember, this Michael III was the drunkard, the young guy, get the emperor at age 3. His mother was ruling, until yeah, let's just read it because I think this part. Along with Magister Manuel and so on. So Bardas was appointed by the Emperor Theophilus to assist Theodora after Theophilus' death. Bardas' name is often, so he was appointed to help that Theodora. No, this is another. Bardas' name is often, okay, let's go. Okay, I'm sorry. Let me simplify. Look, he was exiled. This Caesar Bardas, which is the grandfather of Mary, a grandfather of Malika, was exiled. Then this exile lasted until Michael III reached adulthood, which we thought it was 1857, and began to question his mother's authority and that of her favorite minister. And then the chief chamberlain, Damianus, persuaded the young emperor to bring his uncle back to the palace. Okay, the other thing is this, which I didn't emphasize. The Bardas is an uncle to this Michael III. And so there is, the emperor is some relationship to this Bardas. And I think uncle, sorry, just to see, he lived, yeah, uncle from mother's side. So he was the brother, so there's a rivalry with the mother. So he seems was the uncle of the emperor from the mother's side. So he's the Dai of the emperor. Sorry, I forgot about that. And then the chief chamberlain, and then they bring him to the court. But still for a while, from 857 to 852, he is the powerful man, and he does many interesting things for education, university, stuff like that. I'll wish it fast. But at 862, he become also the Caesar officially. At 862, he's officially declared to be the designated successor. And then his dominant position was further established by the appointment of his two sons as the domestic of the schools and commander of several Western. So he put his children also in position of power, which could be the father of Malika, which it could be father of Malika, but the Western front, not the Eastern front. So now he's a Caesar, and then because this Michael III is drunkard and is very weak to ruling, he's effective ruler too. His designated successor, effective ruler, so Caysar Malik. I mean, they talk about his marriages. This Caesar Bardas have twice married, and so, but very little about his first wife. But we know about some of his children. Then he has a second marriage. I think I skipped this part. As I said, the important thing is that he really is de facto ruler of Byzantium. So exactly Ben Salman. So effectively calling him a Vali'at Shah or Caesar Malik is right. So that first term, Caesar Malik Rum, is very interestingly correct and detailed use in the Hadith. Is not a mistake of using the attribution of the title Caysar Malik Rum or Malik Rum to Bardas seems to be in complete accordance with the Byzantine sources. Portrayal of Caesar Bardas or Bardas, if not the de jure. No, I really sorry wrong. The attribution of the title Caysar Malik Rum or Malik Rum to Bardas seems to be in complete accordance with the Byzantine sources. Portrayal of Caesar Bardas for Bardas was, if not the de jure, then at least the facto ruler or Malik of the empire. We said it like Ben Salman. And then during this period, Michael 856, 866, which exactly matches the time. Look, we anticipate that Lady Malika come to house of Imam Mahdi before 1 year, 2 years before his death. He's dead, 868. So 856, 866 perfectly matched. Michael turned to his uncle Bardas, the emperor, for assistance during the second half of his rule. So effectively, these 10 years, this guy is the de facto ruler of Caesar. And then interestingly, we have in the Tabari historian, Bardas' authority is well attested in a Tabari account of the mission of Abbasid envoy. There's a completely separate story. One, Nasir ibn al-Ashar al-Shi'i, sent by the Caliph Mutawakkil to negotiate about something, and that it's come in Tabari and is negotiating with the Caesar Bardas. Although there is some dispute in the name, but when you read it carefully, it is that Caesar Bardas. So Caesar Bardas' name and authority, and that's managing the country and the powerful, and his history is known. There is a rule, a record that in 1850-60, Caesar Bardas successfully raided Emirat of Militan. He won the battle in a couple of famous battles, and Armenia, other places. So he is at 10-year period of de facto rule was the most successful in Byzantine history. They say his 10 years when he was Caesar, like Ben Salman, wasn't really the Malik or the emperor, but his rule was very successful. Effectively, was he's the commander of the forces. Because I have to finish by now. Commander of the forces. He had a passionate adhering of learning and scholarship. This was crucial because how her granddaughter know Arabic. Byzantine sources reveal further striking resemblance between Qaysar Malik of Rome, the one coming hadith, and Caesar Bardas, including a fondness for education and scholarship. He has one of the things is that he revived. He contributed significantly to the revival of secular learning by reestablishing the imperial school of the Magnora and acting as a patron of such scholars as Photius and Leo the mathematician. So this guy, this military man, this is Caesar, this commanding thing, like Ben Salman, for example, like robotics or AI, something like that. This is, I'm sorry, I'm using Ben Salman as not a good example for the grandfather of the Maryam Mahdi, but you know that authority, liking knowledge, known to establishing universities, known to working with mathematicians, knowing opening the university which was closed, and so on. And then we have one other source which is very interesting too. The source is it's called a book Al-Hidayah and Kubra. I really need to go 10 minutes. I will stop in this then, but if maybe I need it, or maybe 5 minutes I go, because I think it's better to finish this here, and then if anything elaborate, I do this lecture. But the point is this: look, there is another book which is Al-Hidayah al-Kubra. Is written by around the same time that the book of Shaykh Saduq was is written. Kamal ad-Din is written, but it's written Al-Husayn ibn al-Hamdan Al-khasibi. This is a very important name. You know, this is the founder of Nusayriya, the Alawis in Syria, which is a Qalat offshoot of Shi'is. He was Shia. He was the companion of Imams, but then he got divergent views, and then become Qali, and then very tensions happened between him and the Shia community, and then he ended up, founder of the Syria, Alawites of Syria. So Hafiz Asad family was from there, but they say this book was written with his Shia views because at the time he was Shia, or still is useful, and especially Allama Magdisi has positive accepting view about this book, but Rajal al-Najashi doesn't have. But the point is that very interestingly, in the story of Jafar al-Kazzab, the brother of the 10th Imam, he wanted to be Imam, but when the 10th Imam became Imam, he couldn't be. And then when 11th Imam passed away, they assumed that he doesn't have any child. Jafar al-Kazzab, which was uncle of the 11th Imam, claimed Imama, or at least request Abbas to give him the inheritance of the Imam to him because of the rules, because Imam didn't have any child. Apparently, the 11th Imam had a child. He can claim. But this Hamdan al-Khasibi wrote this story over there, and then it says some interesting feature. Because this is very independent source, very different line. It says, upon Imam Hassan's death, Imam Hassan Askari's death, his brother Jafar al-Kazzab, the great fabricator, appears before the Gamera and Samera and gossips. At the time my brother died, he had no sons, and the only thing left from him was a fetus his slave girl was pregnant with. And the governor sends his agent to Hassan house, and they detain Nargis and Vardas al-Kitabiya. They are imprisoned for 2 years. However, once it became clear that Jafar claim about Nargis and the other slave girl is not true, they're both released. So here, Jafar Kazzab says one of the ladies is pregnant. So and then mentions two names, Hamdan Al-khasibi, Nargis and Bardas Al-Katabiya. But if you, the discussion goes through, look, Bardas and Bardas are very rhyming, and the may change. So, and Nargis, we don't know exactly, maybe it is the name after that she was called in the house, not by Malika, but that's the name mostly famous. So the point is that the argument of the paper is that there are not two persons. This is the mistake either Jafar Kazadi or the authors, and Dara Khasibi was probably dead. It is one person, and then now it is named after her father, for example, a grandfather. Maybe, for example, we say Shaykh Saduq, for example, we get Hamdani, we get somebody, for example, from the ancestral name. For example, this is for example, one of the ancestors, for example, is Asakindi, so one of the ancestral name stick to the person, and then we refer to that person with the ancestral name. Their argument is this: at least this Hamdan al-Khasibi is referring to Kitabiya is important because it means people of the book. This is Christian, and Bardas is not Arabic name, and this Bardas is Bardas, and the changes rhyming together, and it's more Armenian name. So Nargis also wasn't as common. So the idea is that they have heard the people around that time, which Hamdan al-Khasibi was among the companions of 10th and 11th Imam before his changing, going to that direction. They heard the Imam has a Christian Roman slave. Maybe they heard about it. But the name, they didn't know clearly. The name must be Nargis Bardas, means Nargis ibn Bardas, or Nargis of Bardas, the same we have for Simon of Clophas stuff. But they thought these are two names, Nargis and Bardas. This could be, sometimes they call them, this is a possibility. This is another source which was interesting. The other thing is that, look, many Islamic Shia sources, they mention different names. So we saw the beginning of the same hadith, Malika, and the middle of the hadith was Nargis. But there are some other hadiths that say Tagil, or Sausan, and Rayhan. This we don't know whether, this is the confusion. What is exactly the actual name is? Why these many names? Is hiding, is confusion, is nickname. Malika could be princess, Nargis could be the name she used to hide her identity, and then they kept that because they don't want to know. Like people have a couple of names, here, for example, we have Islamic names or the name in the street. They have said, and one of these, the kind of one finished with it, is this. They have found a seal, which they have gone to the story. Maybe if I stop here, I say it next time, but just say the answer is that there is a seal, which interestingly they find it, and then it's going to the 9th century, and then this is this phrase. Look, unbelievable this survived, if it's true. The seal's inscription reads, this is Greek, Theotokos. Theotokos, we had a discussion, and we are going to have a discussion, is a name of title of Mary. Although you may say, okay, why Malika use this name? But this is the title they give. They don't know if she knows Islam, I think, for them. Theotokos, Mother of God, or God-bearer, which is the title of Mary, which we go, at least the last few lectures, we're going to discuss this a lot. Aid your servant, Maria, the daughter of Caesar. So you have a daughter of Caesar, which we saw in the 9th century, we only find two Caesars. Two designated successors, two beforehand called Al-Waliyat, and one is Bardas, and the other one didn't have any child. And then they find the seal which says, held this and is agreed. So actually, if this is true, and then there are discussions here, maybe I do next, the actual name of the Lady Malika before being Muslim was Maria. So I will stop here. So look, the point of this is this. the historicity. If you read the hadith, I didn't read because some of it is so miraculous, and our rational secular minds start to ask, is it true? I can tell a Christian, is this true, or non-Muslim is true, or non-secular. But then you see it matches the history. There is a real guy over there with this feature. And then the other one is earthquake, maybe next lecture. So yeah, I stop here because I think this is still, I will go with a little bit the seal, but the point is this. So we find the grandfather, we find the matches. He was really Caesar, Caesar. He was very educated, very commanding, what age was and what lineage he was. We don't know the name of the mothers because, we don't know. We know grandfather. We don't know much about the father and mother of the Lady Malika. And we know that her name maybe really was Maryam. Maria, this I know is very new, but Nargis, maybe the name she adopted. Malika, maybe princess, but still we have lots of names here, and Mary is editor. I stop here, and thank you for your patience. I am sorry I went overboard, but I continue this completed next lecture, and then with story also of the Shamun to this finishing the thing. Thank you.